Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajagacharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribrajagacharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shekho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shamaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Narayanam Naraskecham Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Tato Jayamudiraya Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is it 3rd canto, 17th chapter, 19th verse? Is that correct?
20th.
Was it 20th?
Yes.
20th text?
Yes.
Okay. Hiranyaksho Nujas Tasya Priha Pritikrit Anvaham Gadapanir Divam Yato Yutsur Migayan Ranam Hiranyaksho Nujas Tasya Priya Priti Kritan Bayaham Gadapani Divyam Yato Yutsir Mrigayan Naram Hiranyaksho Nujastasya Priya Kriti Kritan Baham Gadapani Divyam Yato Yutsir Mrigayan Ranam
Hiranyaksho Nujastasya
Priyaha Kritiyad Raham Kirapani Divyam Yato Yutsir Mrigayan Ranam
Hiranyaksho
Nujastasyam Priya Priti Kritam Bhavam Karapanir Divyam Yato Yutsur Mrigayan Ranam
Hiranyaksho Nujastasya Priya Priti Kritam Baham Karapanir Divyam Yato
Karapanir Divyam Yato
Yutsur Mrigayan Ranam
Yutsur Mrigayan Ranam Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priya Priti Kritam Abham Kirapani Divam Yato Yuksir Migayan Ram Hiranyaksho nujastasya Priya Priti Kritam Abham Kirapani Divam Yato Yuksir Migayan Ram. Word for word, Hiranyaksha, Anujaha, younger brother, Tasya, his, Priya, beloved, Pritikrit, ready to please, Anuhayam, every day, Kadapanihi, with a club in hand, Divam, to the higher planets. Yataha, traveled. Yuyutsahu, desires to fight. Mrigayan, seeking. Ranam, combat. Translation. His younger brother Hiranyaksha was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksha took a club in his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit, just to satisfy Hiranyaksha responsibly. His younger brother, Hiranyaksha, was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksha took a club on his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. Purport. The demoniac spirit is to train all family members to exploit the resources of this universe for personal sense gratification, whereas the godly spirit is to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Hiranyakashipu was himself very powerful, and he made his younger brother Hiranyaksha powerful to assist him in fighting with everyone and lording it over material nature as long as possible. If possible, he wanted to rule the universe eternally. These are demonstrations of the spirit of the demoniac living entity. In my volume, there's a combination of 3 texts, so I'll just read through the translations and purports. Text 21, Hiranyaksha's temper was difficult to control. He had anklets of gold tinkling about his feet. He was adorned with gigantic garland, and he rested his huge mace on his shoulders. It was text 22. His mental and bodily strength, as well as the boon conferred upon him, had made him proud. He feared death at the hands of no one, and there was no checking him. The gods, therefore, were seized with fear at his very sight. They hid themselves, even as snakes hide themselves for fear of Garuda. Purport. The Asuras are generally strongly built, as described here, and therefore their mental condition is very sound, and their prowess is also extraordinary. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, having received the boon that they would not be killed by any other living entity within this universe, were almost immortal, and thus they were completely fearless. So as Prabhupada is indicating, Asuras are generally strongly built, and mental condition is very good, and their prowess is also extraordinary. Many of the modern day demons they appear to be very refined gentlemen, wearing suits and ties and so on and so forth. Ravana was very much loved in his kingdom, and there was a cocaine czar named Pablo Escobar, the late Pablo Escobar, who died lately. And he was very much loved in his area of Colombia. He built pitches for football games and so on and so forth. But he was very demonic. And it is said that approximately 20,000 people were killed because of his reign. People in the Drug Enforcement Agency, his own sellers of cocaine. And after his death, the cocaine traffic continued. I was sitting on an airplane next to someone who was in the Drug Enforcement Agency, and he said that even though some of these very powerful demonic people had been killed, the cocaine traffic would not stop, because the people in the United States are very much demanding this stimulant. And so it's continuing. And there was also Mr. Nair, who was a very demoniac. In the United States, they call them white-collar criminals. But he was very demonic, and he caused a lot of problems. And it just so happened that one day, Giriraj was in a train station in Villaparle in Maharashtra, near the temple, and it was said that Nair had died. And he was the first one to know about this. So he came to Prabhupada's room and informed Shruti Kirti, who informed Prabhupada that Mr. Nair has died. And the way he died was that he had contracted cancer, and he doused himself with petrol and lit himself on fire and committed suicide. And he was dead before the ambulance even arrived to get him to the hospital, dead on arrival. And he was dead when he got to the hospital. So he was very, he caused a lot of problem. He owned that land that the temple was built upon, and he had bribed some members of the police force to evict the buyers. And but when he was dealing with the ISKCON, it was a different story. So Shruti Kirti was massaging Prabhupada, and he informed Prabhupada that Mr. Nair has died. Prabhupada did not respond immediately. There was a lot of silence. There's a famous aphorism that one should not speak evil of the dead. And so Prabhupada was observing that. And then after a while he said, you don't know how much, he said to Shruti Kirti and whoever else was present there, you don't know how much trouble that man has caused me. So it was a big struggle. There was another person who had made a down payment on land and was still living in the Juhu property. And Prabhupada said, I want you to leave this property. And the man said, I'm not going to do it because I paid money for this. And he demanded that they do a parade in the city of Bombay in his honor, and then he would think about vacating. So Prabhupada said, well, okay, we'll do it. And they organized a parade in his honor in the city of Bombay. And afterwards, the man was satisfied and he left the property. But Prabhupada wanted the exclusivity of the property. And it's written about it a little bit in Giriraj Maharaj's book, I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. It took place in a place called Juhu. It's a very famous place now for the Bollywood stars live there. But it was when Prabhupada went there, it was just a kind of a swamp, and the devotees were. You can read in the book that devotees were living in very austere conditions in a shed, and they were sleeping on a mud floor, and mosquitoes were eating their feet at night, and rats was infested with rats. And they just carried on. And it's now a very beautiful temple. But this man caused a lot of trouble. And he tried to evict the devotees. And after he died, his wife tried to carry on the torch of wanting the devotees to vacate. But they didn't do it. And it was Prabhupada who somehow or other convinced her to sign off and let them have the land. Giriraj tells the story that there's a Mr. Sethi, a Sikh who was a construction engineer. And the municipal law in Bombay is that if a temple was destroyed, it had to be built within 48 hours, rebuilt in 48 hours. Whatever was on the land had to be rebuilt in 48 hours in order for the original, for the down payment owners to stay there. So this Mr. Sethi took this literally, and there's a photograph of him in Giriraj Maharaj's book, and he sat in a chair with a rifle, and had his construction crew rebuild the shed that was the only remnants of a temple within 48 hours, and he didn't sleep for 2 days, and he just sat there with his shotgun. And this very demoniac, Mr. Nair's residence was right across the road from the temple. And a man said that, don't think that rifle is going to do you any good, because I have a rifle myself and I have 20 cartridges. And Mr. Nair was dead and gone by that time. And Mr. Sethi shot back to him and he said that I have 70 cartridges in my rifle, so I'm going to stay here, and you can't do anything to me. And Sethi's son was by his side. He also had a pistol, and they rebuilt the whole temple, and they were able to stay there. And Mrs. Nair had bribed the police force, which they were characterized as gundas in the book, to come and destroy the temple. So the very first time I went to India, I was in Bombay, and I saw this remnants of the temple. There was hardly anything left but the metal stanchions that were holding up the shed, and there were piles of bricks on the bottom of it. And they were just about to approach the temple to attack the deities when an American woman stood there with her back to the deities and said, if you touch them, you'll have to kill me first. And that, I don't know if that frightened off the gundas, or if it was because another one of Prabhupada's disciples had hidden in the bushes during this fiasco and had telephoned someone in higher authority in the office, in the municipal office of Bombay, and told them what was doing. And so the gundas that were dressed as policemen backed off, and they didn't touch the deities. So the deities of Radha Rasa Bihari are still there, and they were untouched by the criminals. So this Mr. Nair was a very sophisticated white-collar criminal. He had done so many things to make life difficult for the devotees. He had committed very sinful activities, and yet he was, looked like a very respectable gentleman. And he was on the front page of the newspaper when he passed away. So that was the story of Dr. Nair. And there were many people. The President of the United States, Bill Clinton, was also very nicely dressed, but he committed a lot of sinful activities. And he even allowed for an abortion to take place in America. There's a pill, some kind of something that's manufactured by the pharmaceutical industry that causes people to have abortions, even though they're not surgically attacked. So demons can have very, very respectable exteriors, and they tend to. And as Prabhupada is writing here, asuras are generally strongly built, as described here, and therefore their mental condition is very sound, and their prowess is also extraordinary. In one of his, I don't know if it was a lecture or a room conversation, but Prabhupada was saying that Hiranyakashipu had a brother who lived in Brazil, and Brazil is noted for its gold. There's a lot of gold somewhere in Brazil. And so this brother, according to what Prabhupada said of Hiranyakashipu, built an underground tunnel all the way to Sri Lanka from Brazil. And he exported this huge quantities of gold through this tunnel under the sea. And the city of Lanka was built with this gold, and it's a very beautiful, at that time it was Lanka, then it became Ceylon, and now it's Sri Lanka again. It became a very wealthy kind of city, and it was destroyed. It was somehow destroyed by Hanuman, who took it very seriously that Hiranyakashipu's kingdom had to be destroyed. So that happens. There's also people that think that this gold is a symptom of the golden age, and there are some people who say the Golden Age began with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and other people that it began with Srila Prabhupada. And there's other people that say it began with both of them. And there's other people that say it hasn't even begun yet. It's only a very small percentage of the people who are so sometimes we lull ourselves into a false sense of security and think because ISKCON is growing, it's grown in the last 70 years, that the Golden Age must be upon us. And there's other people that say that it hasn't started yet. I was driving a vehicle once in London, and it was in January, which is it's kind of the dead of winter in that part of the world. And there's a street, I don't remember the name of it, but the street is pocketed with cherry trees. And somehow it was very warm in January, and it was in this Fahrenheit 70 degrees or something like that. It was extraordinarily unusual. And the blossoms of the cherry tree started to come out because they thought it was the middle of summer, and it was actually the middle of winter. So there are some people who think that the Golden Age has not begun yet. It's just the Golden Age, it means, in one sense, that Satya Yuga takes place in the middle of Kali Yuga. I don't know if it's in the middle or the beginning or the end or wherever, but some say that it hasn't begun yet. And in one sense, it's true that in the Golden Age, the whole world is kind of pious, and it's an unusual occurrence for Kali Yuga. But it's just even 10,000 people out of 430, whatever it is, 427, 432,000 years, it's a very small number. And if it's already begun, it's still a very small number. It's just a fraction of, not even 1%, it's just a fraction of 1%. And if we take it that 10,000 years is going to occur some other time, it's still a very small part. It's still only a very small percentage of the whole population. So even though the Satya Yuga is slated to begin sometime in Kali Yuga, it's not known when. And Prabhupada has even been asked when it started, and he's never said a definitive time as to when it starts. And throughout all the Puranas, it's mentioned that this is an occurrence that is going to happen, but it doesn't say when exactly it's going to occur. But it's in Kali Yuga, that part is mentioned. But when in Kali Yuga, it's not mentioned. So it's become a bit of a controversy. So this Golden Age is maybe it's upon us, maybe it's not upon us. Maybe it's going to happen in the future, maybe it isn't going to happen in the future. It's hard to say. At any rate, the demonic persons are very powerful, and Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were very powerful demons. In fact, when they were first born, there were many evil omens that were occurring. Jackals were vomiting blood. There was great dust storms. There was thunder without rainfall, and many things were going on that indicated the world was going to be populated by demonic persons. Nowadays, there's, as Prabhupada mentions in some of the purports, we have global warming, we have sudden floods, hurricanes, and many things are occurring. So the indication is that there are many demons being born at this time. And as we know, there is a lot of warfare going on, even though the people are crying for peace. There's a lot of unnatural occurrences going on in the world. So the indication is that the world is very demonic. There are very many demonic people. The leaders of the world have demonic tendencies. And it's mentioned in another part of the Bhagavatam that when Dhruva was ruling the planet, after it was in Satya Yuga, and he ruled the planet for 36,000 years. That's when people lived for 100,000 years. At some point, one of the Manus, Swayambhuva Manu, asked him to stop the killing of Yakshas. The reason he was obsessed with killing Yakshas was that Yaksha had killed his brother and stepmother. So to take revenge, he fought a whole city of Yakshas and killed many thousands of Yakshas. And Swayambhuva Manu told him to stop because he was exhibiting more anger than was necessary. And it's mentioned there that in one of his purports by Prabhupada, that in the modern day, sometimes it happens that over the killing of one person, many so-called innocent people are killed in world wars, and it goes on constantly. And when those two demons that were very, very active and injured Nityananda Prabhu, they were sporting in the water with young girls. They were very sinful activities, very engaged in very sinful activities. And Lord Chaitanya was informed about this, and he came to kill these two demons. Jagaya and Madai were their names. And Lord Nityananda stopped him, and he said, if you kill them, you're going to have to kill everyone on the planet, because everyone is sinful. So that, and then one of them promised Lord Chaitanya that he was never going to commit sinful activity again, and therefore these two demons became devotees, and they became very very pious. So it's possible that the demons can become devotees, and devotees can become demons. So I'll stop there. If there's any questions or comments that anyone wants to make, please do so. Now's the time. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, thank you for the class. You mentioned that there is no definitive answer about whether or not the Golden Age started. Which camp do you personally belong to?
As far as the Golden Age is concerned, I don't belong to either camp. I'm completely neutral. I don't know. That's my answer. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Anything else? Yes?
Maharaj, I thought it was interesting in the purport today how Prabhupada's saying that the demonic spirit is to train family members to exploit the resources of this universe or this planet. And I was thinking that that's going on, that we're using more resources even than the planet can keep up with.
That would be an argument to say that the Kali Yuga hasn't, that the Golden Age has not begun, because there are many demonic people, many demonic activities, and people think that because there's many advances in communication and travel and so forth and so on, and medicine, that we're living in a golden age, and we may not be, because there are many demoniac activities that are going on, including artificial intelligence, in which people think that they're going to be able to live forever. So the majority of the 7 billion inhabitants, the human inhabitants of this planet, are in a sense, they're getting more and more demoniac. So it's a little difficult. So that would be an argument to say that we're not living in the Golden Age yet. But actually, I don't know what the answer to that one is. Yes?
I was just thinking if when Lord Chaitanya appeared, isn't that when the Golden Age was? Because
that's what some people say.
He incarnated in Kali Yuga as well. I'm not
well,
sure.
he's called the Golden Avatar, so some people are convinced that the Golden Age began with him.
Yeah. I just thought that, but maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I was just asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could some people be in the Golden Age and some people not? Like, does it mean every single person is?
Well, there's different descriptions of what the Golden Age is, and one is that it's like Satya Yuga in the middle of Kali Yuga, that there's piety reigning throughout the whole world. And of the 7 billion people in the world now, piety is certainly not reigning. So that destroys that argument. Yes?
This may sound pretty far out there, but do you think the planet would have to recognize ETs for a golden age to occur?
Would have to recognize which?
Extraterrestrials?
I don't know if it would be recognized, but people, according to that theory, people that are in Kali Yuga behave in a sinless way for a while, at least for 10,000 years. It's still a very small percentage of the 432,000 years, but still it's been predicted in several Puranas and in the Srimad Bhagavatam that it's going to occur, or it's maybe occurring at the moment.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj. Sorry I came late. And it's very hard to understand. If it's real, if it's happening now, then wouldn't we acknowledge it? It's happening. And the other question was, I can't remember the other one.
Well, if you think of it, just talk with me. We can do it after class or whatever.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll stop there.
Mukunda Maharaj ki